Hello, everybody. So I'm going to do something a little different for December because I had a disaster. I recorded all of yours individually for December, and it's just a part of technology. Sometimes, it disappoints. And so I couldn't find any of the recordings. I don't know what happened. They just went into a black hole. I record to a cloud, and the cloud floated away. So, and it took all your readings with it. So, but it was meant to be. I think it was meant to be. I really had the way I was looking at December, I remember because I did them over the last couple of days, so I remember what I was saying. I was doing it a very specific way, and it's usually the way I look at December. I've done this for years, where really December is a time to take stock of the past year and to really look back to where you were last December 2019. Now, that's so poignant this year because 2020, it will, go down in history as a year where a lot changed, everything changed, so much changed. There have been other years in history, they just haven't been while most of us are alive. This was a very big year for those of us alive right now, um, who haven't experienced this kind of event before. Um, so anyway, um, I think I do think these things are meant to be. I'm meant to talk to you in a very concise way about December, which is what I'm going to do. So this recording, I will upload it so that sits in all of your folders for your sign, but I'm going to do this whole reading will be for all of you, for all the signs, but it'll be a quick read through for each sign, really just to reflect. And then I'll get to work on the 2020, I'm sorry, the 2021 forecast and make those more comprehensive because it's a new year. But really December, I always do it this way where it's shorter, it's more concise. We're taking a look back to reflect. It's a normal time of year to do that. It is the way I've always done it. The ones that went recorded to the cloud and disappeared, I should let you know just so you're not too disappointed if you're disappointed that these are going to be shorter. They were short too. They were no more than 15 minutes per sign. So, yeah, there may have been one or two that were a little longer, but they were on the whole much shorter. And it's because of the way I tend to approach December. And there's really one main thing to consider in December, and that is the major two transits and then the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn moving from Capricorn to Aquarius and then quickly conjuncting at 0 degrees Aquarius. It's a big deal, just like this all of 2020 with all the Jupiter Pluto conjunctions and, Saturn, Pluto, like we just had this whole, they've just been dancing around each other, Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn, the whole year. And this is the culmination. We were talking about these planets last December. We're talking about them now, but now it's more of a look back to see what happened and then look forward and look more toward Aquarius and where that hits your chart and what it might mean. And to really, like, in looking back over the year, I really want to encourage people to not only look, there's kind of a joke now, even though there are some very serious events and um, still serious events unfolding, people, because of fatigue and just to get through it, people are making jokes about 2020 and you know and I do that too, but I want to look beyond that because as much as 2020 has been kind of a headache for many, maybe a year of loss for many. Um, I've watched time and time again with friends, family, clients. There's this interesting kind of karmic yin yang thing going on where even though 2020 may take with one hand, it gives with the other hand. There's a give and take, and even with pain or sadness, there's also joy and beauty. And I don't know if you see that, but in amidst pain or loss or isolation, there's this other thing happening, which is the beauty. There's a beauty and a joy or a love that emerges, like flowers growing through the cracks in the pavement. So there's this, and I see it over and over again. I've worked with a whole bunch of clients this year, and because my company that I run with two other coaches, we focus on divorce women. We really see a lot of people who've gone through loss, and yet there's this amazing other thing going on. And then my private clients is the same thing. There may be loss, sadness, fear, confusion, but there are these positive things happening. And sometimes it's hard to get people to focus on that. But I really encourage you to look back over this year, even amidst loss, perhaps great loss, and pain and sadness, and look for those flowers growing through the cracks in the pavement because they're there. I've seen it. It's an interesting pattern I've seen all year. It's the way Jupiter is playing into the situation, and quietly Venus too, but Jupiter and also the way Neptune I think is playing into it. So there's this beauty that infuses all the bizarreness. It's there and you have to kind of look for it. Some people see it more readily than others. But take a moment to really try, it's hard actually, to put yourself exactly in the shoes of where you were this time last year, the beginning of December 2019. All the things you wanted for 2020, what you thought would happen, and then look at where you are now. It's an interesting exercise. What I find is that I've grown, like we always grow, right? Hopefully, but I see how 2020 has pushed me to be stronger, more loving, more patient, um, more resilient, that I even thought I could be. I already thought I was those things, but I must not have been, or I wasn't to the extent that I am now. So, how have you grown over this year? What has happened for you in your own internal journey, right? So, we're going to look at, in addition to just looking back over the year, we're going to look at the culmination of the transit of Jupiter from last December until now. We're going to look at Saturn. We're going to take a look at Mars, which has had an extended stay in Aries. We may touch on Venus a little, maybe not. I'll think about it, if it's relevant for you. And then let's just get going. So here's the chart. And I've got it situated. So Aries, this is sort of the classical way to situate the chart in Western astrology, is you put Aries in the first house. So that's the symbol for Aries. If you're not familiar with it, the houses are these numbers in the center. These black symbols are the planets, the sun, the moon, and all the planets. Some other indicators like the nodes, Juno, part of fortune sits here, vertex in this case. At least with Aries here, vertex is sitting here. It moves around. So here we go. Of note, we have on the 14th a new moon that's going to be at 23 degrees Sagittarius. So depending upon where Sagittarius sits in your chart, we'll talk about that. You'll have a brand new start, a new start, turning over a new leaf and in that particular area for you. Then we have on the 17th Saturn moving into Aquarius. The 19th Jupiter moves into Aquarius on the 21st. So it's like boom, boom, boom. 17th, 19th, 21st. 21st is when we have the big, grand, great conjunction of um, Jupiter and Saturn right here at 0 degrees Aquarius. So that week between the 14th from the new moon over here to what's happening over here is a big week with a lot of activity that's significant and a whole sea change, because all that preponderance of heavy Capricorn energy, that plotting, that slow plotting, kind of unyielding, unforgiving Capricorn energy. It can be at times like that. To a totally, we go from an earth sign, a staunchly earth sign like Capricorn, maybe the earthiest of the earth signs, Capricorn, to an air sign, flight, space. You're seeing a lot in the news now about space and Mars and, people living on the moon and Mars, in NASA, like not in crackpot, it used to be when people talked about that, it seemed a little more fringe. It wasn't necessarily NASA talking about it. It wasn't, somebody with a direct plan to build a city on Mars like Musk, Elon Musk. Now there are these, lots of talk in the news about space and space travel and people traveling, just regular random people traveling through space, not just astronauts. So you will literally have that sensation of the sky god over here in Aquarius. Aquarius is governed by Uranus. So you get Uranus, the sky god, plus Aquarius, the air sign. And between the two, it's both air, it's intellectual, it's heady, and it's space. So that theme will be big, not necessarily for you in terms of like living on Mars, but you can tell it's a very different energy going from the mountain goat plodding along a single path, slowly making progress to this very free, kind of wild, a little bit unpredictable, heady energy of Aquarius, kind of combined with what's going on with Uranus. And so we're going to look at that in your chart, and then we'll take a look at Mars for everybody. Mars having been in Aries for a very long time through much of the year, to the point where I think wherever it is in your chart, you're probably ready for it to move on, which is getting ready to do. And it's not going to quite do it in the month of December, but we're almost there. In January, it will move on and leave a fire sign and go into an earth sign. But, not Capricorn. Because I think everybody's a little tired of Capricorn energy, to be honest. And I love Capricorn, but we've had a lot of it. Pluto will still be in Capricorn, but I think just having Saturn move on will feel good. And Jupiter with Saturn will kind of help temper Saturn. However, I have to say, Aquarius and Saturn actually do well together. Saturn is the patron, kind of planet of Capricorn, so they do okay. But so does Aquarius. Aquarius and Saturn have a history of being affiliated, and so they work together okay. And then Jupiter works with both of those, both the sign of Aquarius, and Jupiter works well with Saturn. They're very different planets, very different energies, but they have some underpinnings, some similarities in some case, in like certain ways. Jupiter is about education, the higher mind, learning. And so is Saturn in a certain way. Saturn is about learning. It's a slightly different characterization of learning than Jupiter. It's more like reading, writing, arithmetic, memorization, knowing the rules, staying within the rules, learning from your mistakes. That's that kind of learning. Jupiter's more expansive, it's more global, it's the higher mind, it's higher education, it's bigger ideas. Um, it's really learning to conceptualize and use your brain in a different way, connecting the dots on your own, not just coloring within the lines, but starting to create your own ideas, your own research, your own theory. And a way you see that with all the conspiracy theories out there, they're all over the place. It's not just in politics. It's all there's so many different kinds of conspiracy theories out there, but it's like we're in the age of the conspiracy theory right now. So, um, it's an interesting time. So let's just dive in. We're going to go quickly sign by sign. I will do my best to come back and try to record and log minutes, but these are so quick you could just kind of listen to this all in one go. So here we go. Aries. Aries, you've got Jupiter and Saturn in the 10th house. So they were over here and they're moving to the 11th house. So everything shifts from your career to kind of a future career that may be more online, which I know that sounds like, well, yeah, duh, everybody's kind of doing that. But remember, you're also the universal chart. So in a lot of ways, you're leading the pack. But your future looks much brighter and more solid, maybe based on a career change. Your new moon is in Sagittarius up here, kind of at 23 degrees on the 14th of December. So something new happening, a new start. And this is close enough to your midheaven. It really feels like a new start in career that has to do with taking on leadership. So the new moon here, 23 degrees, is close enough to your midheaven that it can point to career. But it's also like new ideas. Also, you could put together the words new and school, a new meeting of the minds. It's also a prominent place in your chart. So there's the suggestion that you are in a public space at this time, you're visible, people can see you. You also come across really well in your public limelight, whatever it is you're doing there in the limelight. So, and then Mars is in your sign all these many months, and you're prepping for it. Again, there's this career thing going on, like a big shift in career. Mars has been zooming around in your sign, giving you a lot of energy, a lot of drive. Sometimes your energy is going a little all over the place, but that's okay. But you've had a lot of energy. You've gotten more done this year than like 8 years combined. You've just really got, even if you're hard on yourself and don't see it, you've gotten a lot done. So you're prepping for Mars very soon into the first week of the new year, I think. Mars is going to dip into the second house here. Again, about making money, career. So there's I just say a big shift in career. And there's something sort of public about what you're doing and you're coming across really well. So moving on to Taurus. Uranus is in your sign, Taurus. You tell us, what's it like? What is going on for you? It may be hard to tease out, this is such a Uranian year, 2020. There's so much Uranian stuff going on, surprises constantly, things changing so much, shifting sands has characterized the year. But that's also what having Uranus in your sign is like, or Uranus anywhere in your chart. So it may be hard to tease apart the other influences of 2020 from having Uranus in your sign. But you tell us, what's that like? Um, as for Jupiter and Saturn, they're moving from your 9th house to your 10th house, which means they're going across your midheaven. This is your midheaven of year. And moving into Aquarius. So again, kind of like Aries, you've got a major shift in career and a lot of visibility. People really can, see you, you come across well, you're assuming a position of leadership. There could be a legal, if you're a lawyer or a judge, or you're in a big legal case, trial. Maybe you're suing somebody or somebody's suing you, or maybe you're getting published, but you're being seen, and it's a remarkable time for you in this way, in a big shift, I would say, in career. Also, you've got your new moon is happening in your money area. So it feels like a new stream of income, possibly a new job, a new way of managing your money, possibly property related. There may be buying and selling a property for some of you, not all of you, but a new opportunity money wise. And so Taurus, also Mars has been in your 12th house, making the past at least half of the year really frustrating for you. You've been like internally, maybe even holding in much of your frustration or anxiety, but it's been there, and you're about to get some big relief from that. So that'll feel good. Of course, it'll go into your sign. It's not in December, but coming up, you'll get the big zing of energy, a big burst of energy, but it's not quite yet. Gemini, for you, Jupiter and Saturn are moving from your 8th house to your 9th house. So that means that you've had a pretty decent money year, most of you. And remember I said, this year's like given with one hand, taken away with one hand. So you may have felt, it's like, is the glass half empty or half full? I guarantee you, some of you have had like raises, promotions, new jobs, making more money, good property deals. If you sold a property, you made good money on it. If you bought a property, you got a good deal. You've had a lot of kind of nice little windfalls here and there. Maybe not everything was perfect, but there's some, and the year's not done yet. Like we've still got December. So I think there's more to the story financially for you. But then once all this moves into the 9th house, it's a year of learning, teaching, broadcasting, being in the public eye, being in the limelight. Some of you are going back to school. Some of you are going to teach. Some of you are going to publish. Some of you are going to law school. Some of you are going into a big court case. Just depends on, and some of you are gearing up for some travel. Now, I know right now travel is not super well indicated for us, but it may come up later in the year. But as you shift into this energy, it should feel really refreshing because you're going for all this energy pent up in the 8th house. And finally, there's this movement up into the 9th house. It should feel really good. Plus, this is a fellow air sign, so I think you'll like that shift of uh, Jupiter and Saturn into a fellow air sign. The new moon is in Sagittarius. It's in your opposite sign. It's partnership related. So some of you are getting engaged. There's a new event. Let's just put it this way. There's a new event in your love life. Possibly for some of you, it's business related because, oh, and it could be about an ex as well. So sometimes there's just a new phase, something new going on with a close relationship. Could be an ex, could be a current close relationship, could be business related. So look at that new moon on the 14th, see what happens. It will unfold. But I do think some of you, if the timing's right for you, if you've been dating for a while, there could be some engagements or commitments or something like that. Maybe even marriages, if there are any December marriages. But you do have Juno and Venus and also this new moon event all piled up in your 7th house. So that could be fun. And then Mars has been in your 11th house. That will be Mars will be moving on, but you've had it zooming around in the area where you're trying to figure out your future, and you've kind of been all over the map. And you've probably felt like you've been spinning your wheels a lot about what direction you're going in. And you'll find over the month, as you end the year, you're gaining a lot more clarity about your direction forward. That will feel very good to you. All right, Cancer. Jupiter and Saturn are moving from your 7th house of relationships to the 8th house. It's usually nice when Saturn leaves your 7th house. At the same time, if you're in a relationship that's been really troubled and you just haven't found resolution, people have not been learning, that means you and or your partner, maybe both of you, have struggled to break free of an unhealthy dynamic. There could be the end of a relationship for some of you. But you'll know, like if you're in a totally happy relationship, it's not going to end unless you're just really dense and you're not reading the cues. Sorry. Um, Usually, unless you're in a huge state of denial, which people can get into, and that's something to work on. Uh, if you find out that you've been in a huge state of denial, it's just, you can't beat yourself up, but it's good to see that you have the capacity to be in a huge state of denial if that applies to you. But I imagine most of you, if your current relationship could be characterized as a little up and down, where the same pattern keeps repeating and it's not a great pattern. Some of those relationships that are like that are going to come to an end um, around mid month through the end of the month. This equally could be committing to somebody and kind of cementing the relationship, maybe with an engagement, um, maybe. With Jupiter combining its energies with Saturn, it helps it a little bit. So normally I would say it's not great to get engaged under a Saturn 8th house cusp alignment. That would seem terrible to me. I'm sure there are situations where maybe it's fine, but normally I would not love that lineup for a future marriage if you're committing to someone. But Jupiter helps a little. It helps. What it says is that it's a match where the parties may be hoping to gain financially from each other. They hope each of the parties or one hopes to gain financially by cementing that relationship. And, it doesn't mean it's bad, but you have to really take a good hard look at why you're choosing now to cement your relationship, and look at, is this a healthy pattern? Just really, you've got to, with Pluto and Saturn having been in your seventh house, this was a year where you really needed to look hard at your patterns, your motivations, look at the patterns of the person, in your relationship with you, and really get it. Learn about boundaries, learn about power dynamics, trying not to have power over somebody, not letting somebody dominate you. You're meant to be equals, right? So you're moving from the energy. I'm going to take a little more time with you because I don't want this to sound bad, but it's been troubling. I know a lot. I mean, I know a lot of Cancers are actually in really good relationships right now, um, and happy. So it's going to be so unique for each Cancerian, right? Um, what I want to say is, you still have Pluto in your seventh house. And the point of having all these energies there is to get you to definitely evolve and grow up and to change on a deep level. So it just depends, to what extent you've been doing that, what your goals are, what your motivations are, and who you're attracting into your life. What kind of person are you aligning yourself with? And just to really be clear on that, be clear on what you're doing. Um, there is, I think for a lot of you, this might not even be about love. It might be more about a work relationship. You're partnering with somebody, and you could make a lot of money partnering with this person. It could be a great financial arrangement. So I think a good fair number of you actually are starting a new job that has strong financial promise. Um, any alliances you're making right now, partnerships, especially as they relate to money, are quite strong because the new moon is in your sixth house. So I do feel like a lot of you are starting a new job that has good money potential, or you've gotten a big raise, or whatever you're doing with your career right now. The decisions you're making are going to be very fortuitous. They're well starred. Mars is in your 10th house, again, a career area, and will be finally moving forward. So I feel like some decisions are being made that needed to be made, and the timing is right now. Okay, so Leo. Jupiter and Saturn are moving from your sixth house to your seventh house. So this is interesting, Leo, in terms, you've got some very interesting relationship stuff going on. So, seventh house is the house of marriage, long-term relationships, some very important partnerships. Again, it could be business where you're cementing and firming up a very strong partnership with a business, alliance, uh, a business concern. It could be a company, it could be a person, it could be a group of people, but and maybe even clients. If your business is client based, you could be getting some very important clients who are big clients or something. But because the new moon is also in your fifth house of romance, and because Mars has been in the ninth house and it's moving over the top of your chart soon, it's pressing in on your midheaven, I would say for the single Leos, somebody could be coming into your life who has long-term potential. It's a very lucky alliance and match for you. So congratulations. Um, with Mars zooming around in your ninth house, there's you've been kind of stuck. It's kind of like that pent up frustration that Taurus felt. And finally, things are moving forward in your career and in your life. It's like you've been on the runway waiting to take off. And finally, there's a big move and you push forward. Then Virgo, Jupiter and Saturn are moving from your fifth house to your sixth house, the beginning of a very fortuitous job or career, um, big money. So congratulations if that's something you're, looking for or wanting, or you've been trying to put together. It's a great time for Virgos to start work or interview quickly, like get those resumes out, network, so that by the end of December, you've got some great doors opening, windows of opportunity. Get out there. Things are really coming together in your career, in your schedule, and also your health. There's this suggestion about your mental health. So, with the new moon in the fourth house, which has other meanings too, but you've got Mars in the eighth house moving to the ninth house. I feel like there's some big financial stuff going on for you that's really, really good. I It seems like uh, in terms of your mental health, or maybe your anxiety around money, any anxiety around family or your housing situation, these things are going to be clearing up. So things that have felt stuck, on hold, like it's never going to get resolved, things are going to move forward, I promise. So it's a big year, a big time coming up for you starting this December. There's some big events happening with probably your job career, maybe with your health. Like you really hit your groove with something with your health, and something to do with your home situation, like a new roommate, a new property, new ideas about where you're going to live, um, finding the money to move. I feel like there's some real estate stuff looming. Maybe not in December, maybe in December, but there's some real estate stuff on the horizon. Okay, Libra. Jupiter and Saturn are moving from your fourth house to your fifth house. That's great for romance, for having children, creative projects. It also could show a big move. When something moves from the fourth house to the fifth house, it could show a big move, maybe even international. But definitely there's something here going on with romance that could be quite nice, and maybe with children, maybe with creative endeavors. The new moon is in your third house, so that speaks to something you're doing. It could be a new job, and if it is, it could be at a school. It could have to do with communications, where you're talking with people in meetings, sending lots of emails, texts. There could be this learning component, could be in a school arena, maybe legal paperwork, maybe using your writing skills, but something new is starting there with that. Your Mars has been kind of pent up in the seventh house and will be moving to the eighth house, which suggests, a relationship that's been all over the place, back and forth, could finally get a clear direction. And then you're really going to be focused on your money and fixing, you'll get kind of a green light to fix some stuff with your money and maybe with your sex life. Scorpio, Jupiter, Saturn are moving from your third house to your fourth house. When this happens, it foretells a move often. It could also show a move of a person in and out of your home. So that could be happening in December, but also shows that, with both Jupiter and Saturn going in there, that you're probably a move is coming your way. It's fortuitous financially. Like if you sold a home, you would get good money for it. If you purchased a home, you'd get a good deal. So you know, the timing is right for that, for moving. And then the new moon is in your second house. So again, this is a great time to start a new job, some kind of new money. It could be something to do with your money. So it could be a new job, could be some new way of drawing, like a new income stream. So maybe it's not a job, but like an income stream. It could be a big purchase, having to do with the home, or a big expenditure having to do with the home. Mars has been in your sixth house. It's still there in December, but you're winding down this Mars, crazy Mars in your sixth house. You may have had some health issues that were really annoying and persistent, irritations. Some of you may have had surgery this year. Um, Even though it wasn't the best year to be in a hospital. Some of you may have had surgery and kind of gone back and forth on some health issue. Finally, this will start to resolve, and Mars will move into your seventh house in the new year. So you're winding down this phase, but you've been also highly energized. You've had a lot of energy. Um, But with Mars there, especially as it winds down, you have a tendency to injure yourself because of the Mars being there. So just take it easy. Don't need to rush. Don't push too hard. You're almost done with this. So take care of yourself, Scorpio. Sagittarius, Jupiter and Saturn are moving from your second to your third house. When this happens, it could signify a big changing of the guard with jobs. So you could be ending a job and beginning a job, or just beginning a job. Uh, a great job for you right now would have to do with school age kids, maybe legal work, maybe some kind of online marketing, social media marketing stuff, uh, something online like that. Uh, writing is featured here. So something where you're communicating, using your communication skills. That's a really good job. And maybe teaching. Are you a teacher? Do you have something you can teach? You may be picking up some new skills that you're learning at the same time. But it's a very stimulating time for you in your mind. You'll be learning so much, and also getting in a position where you can be a good teacher, a good role model. The new moon is in your first house, so it's a big new start for you this month. The new moon is on the 14th, so it could be this new job, a new something. Could be a new school work, something to do with school. Could be a new car. You could get a new car. So it could be a new car for some of you. And then Mars is in your fifth house. This has been you kind of all over the map, all over the place with what you're doing with your love life. Lots, can't make up your mind, lots of different choices. Things seem to move forward, then they go backward. This will start to resolve and settle down, and you'll have more clarity and direction by the end of the month. It's also great for creativity. Great for creativity. Capricorn, Jupiter and Saturn move from your first house to your second house. When this happens, it's a great time for a new career, new job with a lot of money. Big boost in income, a position of leadership, and a very important time in terms of your whole life, very important time in your career right now. And it's got luck written all over it, leadership written all over it, money written all over it. It's a good, just a really big time for you, career wise. And then the new moon is in your 12th house. So when that happens, it's like you're turning over a new leaf internally, where it's like an internal refresh where you just feel renewed from the inside out. So it's a nice new moon. And then Mars has been zooming around in your fourth house, maybe making you feel very like imprisoned there, which kind of goes with this year, where it's been frustrating. Maybe it definitely has this feeling of being caged. Maybe lots of house projects. You've been working on your house, fixing things up. But there's definitely a sense of frustration here as well. And that will resolve toward the end of the month and in the beginning of the new year, that this will resolve and Mars will move on to your fifth house, where it's nice for romance and energy toward children and all things relationship and creativity. So that's coming up. Not quite yet in December, but it's coming up. Aquarius, Jupiter and Saturn moving from the 12th house to your first house into your sign. This will feel so good for you guys. This is really your time, Aquarius. You deserve it so much. I can't even tell you. It's a time for you to shine, display your full colors, your leadership. Lady Luck is with you. Um, it's a really good time for you. Saturn works well in Aquarius. Sometimes it's not so welcome to have Saturn come to your sign, but you've had Saturn and Pluto in your 12th house for a long time. Pluto's still in your 12th house, soon to be moving. But I feel like this will be such a relief that the Saturn issue will just not even phase you in the least, because Jupiter is there and because it's moving out of your 12th house where it was combined with Pluto of all things. I think you're kind of entering really a new era where this idea of being reborn, this idea that seems especially relevant for you. The new moon is in your 11th house. Again, it's like turning over a new leaf. Your whole future is going to look different. The whole way you see your life is going to just completely shift. Mars has been in your third house, zooming around, causing frustration with commuting, with maybe feeling, again, there's that hemmed in feeling that Capricorn had that seems like, maybe you're just limited to the small neighborhood where maybe you'd rather be moving around a little bit more. It's also like a lot of possibly angry communications, people snipping at each other on via text or on the phone or emails, uh, where things have been a little tense at times. Certainly, you've been using a lot of, like, this sounds trite because everybody's doing it, but you've been on Zoom a lot, you've been on Facebook a lot, you've been using technology for sure, but that's very comfortable for an Aquarius, so not a big deal. But maybe it's a lot of a lot. It's a lot of communication, a lot of technology, and you may be relieved when it moves into the fourth house, which it doesn't do in December, but you're prepping for it. So you're prepping for a big move, some of you, and maybe also a new roommate or a new person comes into the picture for some of you. Pisces, Jupiter and Saturn are moving from your 11th to your 12th house. So normally Saturn's not awesome in the 12th house, but because Jupiter's coming with it, it feels like a time where your mind is just expanding. Like your ability to learn is off the charts. So, and to do a big project, like a research project, some kind of investigation, writing a novel, writing a book, writing a series of books, something big. But your powers of concentration, your ability to learn is just off the charts. So use that to your good, whatever you want to use that for. The new moon is in your 10th house, so new career, new turn, like a direction, new career. Maybe that has something to do with what you're going to be working on behind the scenes. You may be working on like a secret project, something behind the scenes. Mars has been zooming around your second house. So this works very well with what I was just saying. You've been like, what do I do for my career? I'm all over the place. I can't decide what to do. I feel frustrated. And now, as you move through December, things start to settle down. You get a clearer sense of direction, and then you can move forward. So I think a lot of it for you is career related. All right, guys, that is it. And again, this just, uh, I think I was supposed to do it this way all along, and the universe just took care of those all those individual forecasts I did for you. For some reason, I was supposed to deliver it like this. And maybe the conciseness of it actually helps. Maybe it's good to have it be very concise and direct and clean cut. So I hope so. And I will be working on the New Year forecasts for 2021. And I'll get those to you as soon as I possibly can. All right, guys, take care.